Hello, starting this journey in Slough. This is the 30th of July 2018 and this is Slough High Street. We've just come through a very hot spell. Now we've had a few days of rain and thunder and I'm just walking to the station. This used to be the old A4. It's now all pedestrianised. It's part of the London to Bath Road, but now it's just for walking only, really. But it joins up with the original A4 Bath Road further on. I'll see you at the station anyway. Right, this should be better because now I've identified the lens to look at. Just approaching Slough Station, which is in the distance behind me there, over my right shoulder. Slough is really an accumulation of lots of little villages. The original Slough was a field or meadow in the middle. I think Slough means something like meadow or damp ground. I mean, further north is Farnham, Stoke Poges. To the west we've got Sippenham, Chalvey, very old. To the east is Upton, Langley, again very old churches there. There's also Burnham, did I mention Burnham Beeches? That's very ancient. So this is what used to be the old central part of Slough, and now I'll make my way to the station behind me to go over to Windsor. Yeah, this whole area near the station is being redeveloped. Just behind me there is part of Slough bus station, and these are all new buildings behind me. There's Tesco's. That's a building site. That church there is St. Ethelred, I believe. It's the Catholic church from Victorian times. And just behind me, down there, is the station. Yeah, so now we're right outside the station here. If you have a look, you'll see it looks kind of oriental or Indian. I think that was the influence of empire on it. Going to be talking about Shakespeare today. Also links with Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, who some people think may have been the main contributor to the Shakespeare brand, the Shakespeare canon. Of course, Windsor's very nearby, just to the south, and one of the few plays that Shakespeare set in England, apart from the history plays, is of course The Merry Wives of Windsor. And there is a mention of Slough in The Merry Wives of Windsor. I'll have to look it up to get the exact reference, but there's mention of a cousining in a Slough north of Windsor, or north of Eton. And of course we're north of Eton here, we're north of the River Thames. So we'll find out a bit more about The Merry Wives of Windsor and let you know when we get over there. See you later. I think I was looking in the wrong lens again. We live and learn. Right, here we are, platform 1 for the 13:10 train to Windsor. Just show you a bit of the scenery. You can see the end of the bus station there behind me. similar to the Curve, the new library in the centre of town. So a lot of trains go through here to London, Cardiff. Not all of them stop, of course.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended.
Yeah, right, well here comes the Windsor train. I think it runs about twice an hour, and it's only a few minutes over the River Thames, over Eton and then into Windsor. Yeah, right, we're on the train now and going over to Windsor. There's no evidence that William Shakespeare from Stratford ever lived in Windsor or ever had anything to do with Windsor as far as we know. But in the Merry Wives of Windsor there's quite a lot of local knowledge. The legend of Herne the Hunter in Windsor Great Park, and also mention of Datchet, Eton and Slough. So in Mark Anderson's book Shakespeare by Another Name, it's mentioned that Edward de Vere, when he was 20, recovered from an illness in rooms in an inn in Windsor. So maybe we'll be able to find some evidence of that. Also, when he was a boy, Edward de Vere was living in the household of Sir Thomas Smith, who was the Provost of Eton, and was being educated by Sir Thomas Smith, apparently, at an early age. Sir Thomas Smith was a great scholar. And he had a house at Ankerwick near Raysbury on the River Thames, near near Runnymede as well, just south of Windsor. So we'll try and get there as well if we can. He lived in what was the old priory, or at least he built a house from the stones of the old priory at Ankerwick. Ankerwick is also famous for the oldest yew tree in England, or in the UK, the Ankerwick yew. It's quite a famous yew tree. Maybe we'll have a look at that as well. Okay, in a minute I hope to show you some views of the castle from the train as we go across to Windsor. Right, we're just setting off from Slough now to go over to Windsor. So it's only a short ride, so I thought I'd keep the camera going all the way over, and then you'll see the whole trip. So we're just leaving Slough station now. It's quite a nice day. It's not too hot, but it is sunny, and it's not raining, so we are blessed. Now we're going to go through quite an old part, which is known as Chalvey. There's actually a church in Chalvey, which is about 1,000 years old. It's a very old village. In fact, Slough, before it was called Slough, was the parish of Upton cum Chalvey. Upton in the east, Chalvey in the west, with two very ancient churches. Chalvey now is like a little suburb of Slough, with some pretty old housing. See, we've had quite a bit of rain recently after the drought, so everything's coming up really green. So I think this is Chalvey. There's allotments here, a lot of allotments. Now we're south of Slough and we're just, we're going under the M4 motorway. That's the M4 motorway. And now we're close to Eton. That river you just saw there was the Relief River. There used to be a lot of flooding at one time around here. So they built a relief river. Also, I think further down it's the Jubilee River. So these are fields around Eton. Leylandii. There's big trees. Right, now if I'm right, in the distance, yeah, there's the castle there, you see, up on the hill. Just to the left there is the chapel of Eton College. Eton is over there, behind those trees. So you should get a great view of the castle now. There it is. Windsor Castle. It's on a hill. It was first, I think it first became a stone castle around about the time of William the Conqueror. Here's the River Thames. Yeah, Windsor Castle, I think it was wooden originally and then it became stone. And it's sort of been built on and extended ever since, well, for the last 1,000 years, really. Here are the fairgrounds, and we're just now pulling in to Windsor Station. So I'll see you later. I just thought I'd take a shot here in the station because it's rather a nice view of, I think that's the curfew tower of the castle, and right behind is the King Edward VII Chapel, where the recent royal wedding took place. That dates, well, that's very early. No, it's not Edward VII, my mistake. It's the Henry VII. I will research that and come back to you. I think I got that wrong. Yeah, so that's the castle. We're in Windsor Station. So what we're going to do in a minute outside the castle, outside the station, yeah, we're going to have a look at some of the oldest buildings in Windsor, which are part of the medieval part of Windsor. And it's up there that I found out there's a local sort of story that William Shakespeare, in one of those buildings, wrote The Merry Wives of Windsor. Anyway, I'll see you in a minute. I thought while we're here in the station, I'd show you this replica of the train that I think Queen Victoria used to use from this station. There's the line to Slough, and then you can go straight into London from Slough. The line that we just came in on, this is a replica of the old train that Queen Victoria used, and it's got a lovely lion and unicorn on it. Dieu est mon droit, I believe. So it's quite a big station they've got here now. Most of it is shops because a lot of it's been converted. But in a minute I'll show you where the royal waiting rooms were, somewhere up here. And then we'll go outside the station and have a look at the oldest part of Windsor, you know, with the cobblestones and everything. Yeah, if you just look down the end there, you can see that canopy, and down there where that SUV is, whatever, people carry it, that's the old royal waiting rooms. But we've just come out of Windsor Station, Central Station. I think it's got the sign there, 1897. It's built in 1897. I must say it's quite impressive. It's quite big because of the. We're right by the castle now. I'll show you in a minute. And up to my right is. Well, I'll have a look in a minute. I can't remember. I think it's the White Hart. Coming up out of the station, and we're right by the castle here, as you can see. There's quite a lot of people here, a lot of tourists today. I'm just trying to remember what this place is up to the right is called, because it is mentioned in The Merry Wives of Windsor. The innkeeper. There we are. The Heart and Garter. There we are, the Heart and Garter. I knew there was a heart in it somewhere. And somewhere on the outside there is a White Hart. Yeah, the sign says the White Hart Hotel up the very top. Anyway, in a minute we'll go over to the older part, which is just over there. Right, this is Castle Hill in Windsor, and there's Queen Victoria, who lived here for quite a long time, probably most of her life. And there's the castle there. That's the Castle Hill going up. And in the background you can see the round tower. It's actually a bit bigger than it looks there. Lovely garden around it. So let's have a look at one of the old cobble streets. A lot of tourism. Wow, this is Market Street. But the one I'm interested in is a bit higher up. Lovely flowers. Right, this is Church Street. And what I was told, a few years ago I went into the Windsor Museum, which is just a few minutes walk away. Windsor Museum near the Guildhall. And the attendant in the museum, he told me that if I was to come to this street, I would see a building, an old building further back, with a Union Jack hanging out of the window. And he said to me, oh, it's in that building that Shakespeare wrote The Merry Wives of Windsor. So you can take that however you want to. I mean, possibly that story I mentioned earlier of around about 1570, Edward de Vere was here, apparently recuperating from an illness for a few months. That's mentioned in Mark Anderson's book, Shakespeare by Another Name. So you can look that up. So possibly there was an inn down this street, Church Street, and perhaps above the inn, Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, recuperated from some illness or emotional crisis and dreamed up The Merry Wives of Windsor. In the play he mentions Frogmore, which is nearby, Datchet Mead, Slough, Eton. They all get a mention. The Hart and Garter Inn, or the Garter Inn, gets a mention, the landlord. It's an interesting setting because why would Shakespeare write about Windsor when he was from Stratford? He didn't write The Merry Wives of Stratford. It's The Merry Wives of Windsor, and local traditions are mentioned, local history, the legend of Herne the Hunter in the Great Park. I think that's where Falstaff ends up, and they all play a lot of tricks on him and so on, from what I remember. Anyway, let's have a look, see if we can find this building that I remember with a Union Jack out of the window. I don't think it's got one now. Right, I've got a memory of it being possibly this one here. It's this blue, narrow blue building, or the one next to it, Drury House. No, it's the Nell Gwyn Tea House. Nell Gwyn was here. I think she was a mistress of... Oh, my history's terrible. Charles III? Or maybe we haven't had Charles III yet. Charles II, Charles I. Please excuse me. I never did a lot of history at school anyway. Oh, there's the tower of Windsor Parish Church, which is a bit further down there. So I'm going to do a bit of shopping now, so I'll leave you with this. I think it was that window behind me with the flowers in the basket there. That's where the Union Jack used to hang out. So maybe that's where Edward de Vere recuperated, and or Shakespeare wrote The Merry Wives of Windsor. I wonder if we'll ever know. Just a few more shots from this lovely little garden, sort of in the middle of this old quarter, the old part of Windsor, up by the castle. You hear the planes going over, and there's a plaque in the ground which for some reason says London on it. Not sure why it says London. And it's got various shields on it. Yeah, I'll have to do some work to find out what that's all about. Maybe later on I'll have time to go down to Wraysbury and Anchorwick, and so I'll be able to add a bit on, but for now, from the place where The Merry Wives of Windsor was possibly written, it's over and out. Cheers.